Teddy, I know it's what all the neighbors are talking about, but they confirmed it was a suicide. You can't do anything about that.
But it's not.
Then what is it?
Murder.
Wait. Is this the only reason you came to school
I
today?
enjoy learning.
No, stop. You have that look.
Oh, look.
Hey, you.
Hey,
You look great.
thanks. You do too.
Did you get the flowers?
Oh, I did. I got them the other day. They're beautiful. Thank you.
Of course. All part of the package.
You hungry?
Yeah. Is this weird for you too?
I am just so surprised you actually went to a restaurant too.
Well, we're in this together, right?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fernando Amico. I am the Executive Director of the NovaFest, and we are here on our final Friday evening Q&A with some superstar celebrities, representatives from the films Table for Two and Death. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of work today and my mind's a little frazzled. Death on Evergreen. So we're going to hear all kinds of cool insider stuff and get to meet these awesome people. And at the end, we will be able to, and you will be able to, whomever's in the audience, get to ask some questions and get to know our superstars here. So with that, I'm presuming we have the same configuration as far as the Brady Bunch squares up here. So I will go ahead and just make it easier. I'll introduce you by first name. And then, yeah, please say a few words about yourself. Make sure that your mics are unchecked or available, and then we're gonna have some fun. Okay, I'm gonna start with, is it R? How do you pronounce your name? Is it just R now, or because I on your, is it RJ? Yeah.
Yeah. No, just RJ is fine.
RJ. Okay. Okay. So please let yourself be known, RJ.
So thank you for having me. This is really exciting for me and my team. My name's RJ. I've been making short films for a little over 10 years now. Took some breaks here and there over the years, and this is the first film that I've done since 2019. So I'm really happy with it. Excited to share it with everyone, and yeah, that's it.
Great to have you. Again, we're just going to go left to right, top to bottom. We have Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina. I played Teddy in Death on Evergreen, which Sabrina directed, and yeah, that was my first time acting or like trying it out, and yeah, it was like back in 2019, but I'm here now.
Do you know Sabrina well, or?
Yeah, she's my older sister.
Okay, that helps. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Then there's this other fellow over here that shared some screen time with you. Can you please enunciate your full name for us, please?
Last name as well?
Yeah. Marketing,
Gasahn
man. You're in the film
Chanikornpradit.
business. Say again, please.
Gasahn Chanikornpradit.
Wow. Okay. And who are you? What are you doing here?
Yeah, well, I played Parker on Death on Evergreen. It was also my first time acting. Yeah, it was a great experience. Acting isn't something I'm currently pursuing, but it definitely introduced me and blossomed an interest in cinematography and just film in general. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, please take this as a compliment with you and Katrina. I hate both of you. You're just so darn good. I mean, I'm going to praise you later, so just be prepared for it. And then the ringmaster of this particular film, Sabrina.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Yum-Shuster, and I am the writer-director for Death on Evergreen. And yeah, this was also my first like official film outside of like high school, and definitely my first feature film. And it was a learning experience for me, just basically to teach myself how to make feature films and like edit, and yeah, it was really great. And yeah.
You've seen the other feature films, right? At least the one from Germany, right?
I
Have you?
have started watching that. I have to finish it though. But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
You see who your colleagues are. Just want.
Oh
want
yeah,
you to
no,
know. Yeah.
it's like there's so much I can learn from that. It's like wow. Yeah.
Okay. And the TV or no, the movie mom, I believe, Linda.
That's right. Hi,
Please.
everybody.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I'm Linda Parks. I play Tammy, Death on Evergreen. I've been acting on and off for about probably 4.5, 5 years. And I'm in the DC, Maryland area. I'm super excited to see everyone again. That was a very fun project.
Yay. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing it. Then Aneese, please.
I'm sorry, I'm just shocked you got it right.
Really? Well,
yeah, Aneese, not a
GC is
nephew, is
either.
how I. So yeah, Sabrina's film was basically the last film I really worked on before I went off to college. I'm now at Chapman University, actually in the film school here right now. Just
fantastic.
Popping in because I'm also on set right now, but I just wanted to pop in and like talk about the film. It was a great experience working with everybody on the set. I kind of just played the role of almost glorified PA as I just filled in wherever Sabrina needed me. It was a runner, or it was a sound mixer the day of, or if it was just somebody to hold the camera, basically.
So second unit director, right?
Essentially, yeah. Let's go with that one.
Right. Okay, I feel you. Yeah, this is really fun. Just as an outside commentary, the very first day we had Q&A on a Monday, it was two filmmakers who were actually driving up somewhere, I think like Florida or North Carolina, somewhere southeast, and we actually conducted the Q&A while they were on the road. So we have this artificial backdrop here where it would be again where everybody comes down the aisles, and we have our director's chairs, and everybody gets to have the traditional interplay. It's just kind of neat. Again, outside commentary that Aneese, you're out in school, and and everybody else, I presume, is not in the theater as well. I am, but that's how I roll. Okay, is everybody ready to go and share their awesome wonderfulnesses? That's a yes. All right, enthusiasm. Okay, let's see where to begin. Let's start with the top filmmaker, producer, director people. So maybe you can share some background about your film, quick synopsis, and then anything you'd like to add to it since then, including when you did it. Again, we like to go a little fast and loose, so you can bring up COVID, or you can bring up, your C-stand fell on your head, anything at all, really. But some insider stuff for us to share with our audience. And again, it's being recorded, so you're married to this for life, essentially, for at least the next 8 years. So we'll start with again, because you label it, is it RJ or R? How would you want to go by?
RJ.
Okay,
Sorry.
RJ. Please share your some comments about your work since we have you here.
Okay. So Table for Two is about two people, Sophia and Chris, making the most out of a awkward date. They're doing it virtually, and then towards the end of the date, reality sinks back in for Sophia when she realizes that everything that she's using for this date is just something that's kind of keeping her from really connecting with people. So yeah, production. So as I said, it was the first thing I did since 2019. Obviously, the pandemic kind of slowed things down for everyone. But then last year, found some balance, got some money together, got a lot of old friends, new friends to come together to make this film. And I wrote the script a couple years ago, wanting to just center it on online dating. But then 2020, you have people doing things during the pandemic through technology. So I thought I'd incorporate that in there. It's not a COVID-centric story, but it kind of has that kind of element. And if you watch, there's, the characters just kind of deeply isolated from everything. And even during the exterior scenes, there's virtually no one around her. So we kind of used that to our advantage as we were filming. Aneese, it's funny that you mentioned Chapman. My cinematographer graduated from Chapman a couple years ago. So, you know, it's cool to see that. But he flew back from, he's working in California right now, and I phoned him up early last year, and I was like, hey, you know, I got this idea. I want to shoot it in September. I don't know. I don't think I can afford you, but since, you know, we're friends, and you know, could you come back or whatever? And he was gracious enough to do it. Spent a long weekend just shooting. It was a 2-day period. We rented our interior locations. We kind of went a little guerrilla style for our exteriors in Georgetown, DC, and got to play. He actually mentioned that he missed shooting on the East Coast because there are a lot of older colonial-esque buildings, and you don't get a lot of that out there in California, he said. So he was like really, yeah, exactly. So he was like really happy to kind of shoot old brick buildings and stuff like that. There's just so much B-roll of him that he shot where, you know, none of it made it into the film here. He was just kind of capturing things. So he was an old friend from college. And then the lead actress, she and I have known each other since high school. So almost known each other for 12, 14 years at this point. And we had worked together on and off throughout, you know, when we first started making films. And she went off and formed this theater company, and I went off and, you know, had to work for a living, you know, but we synced back up for this project, and it was like nothing had changed. You know, we were able to just pick back up and you know, do things like we had done back in the past. It was a lot of fun.
Where are you right now, RJ?
I'm in DC. I'm actually
Okay.
down the street from Angelica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's everything's just so surreal, because I believe we have you sound off, or do we have mostly a Nova crowd, DMV crowd right now? Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. We're bringing it all home on the last evening. Fantastic. As I've been complimented many times, I'm very long-winded, and I tend to jump in and just, especially with new filmmakers, I just, again, there's so many. The business isn't necessarily complicated, but the quantity is massive. And every once in a while, a filmmaker, actor, what have you, will mention something. I have a strong need, because I want everybody to be successful, and I'll throw in a nugget, hopefully, that you can pick up on. And last caveat, it is Hollywood, so every rule can be broken. But one of the generic terms, when you really start getting into it in the larger budgets, so on and so forth, and there's so much interplay with friendships and relationships, you know, good timing here. One rule of thumb, which Sabrina broke, but it worked, in my opinion. Don't let, in bringing people on, make sure that those people's talent surpasses the friendship or the relationship. It tends to be more 80-90% of a solid rule of thumb as you go forward. But don't get me wrong, that rule is broken all the time. That's just the nature of art and what we do. But you can pay a price if you don't follow that rule, or if you don't, you know, try to be wise in making those decisions. Because, oh yeah, you're my best friend, or what have you. Did you mind acting in this real quick? And again, as all of you here know, you put your blood, sweat, tears into this, and your credit cards and everything. And all the final viewers see at the end of the day is what's on the screen. Again, I used to teach in Georgetown, so some of those shots were kind of cool for Boston University. They had a satellite campus there. But as I used to always share that if you can't stand in front of every screening or explain after every show, or when your production is going on, and saying, oh, well, we had to do this because the sun was that, or the actor did this, or the cat did that. You can't, unless you can do that at every single screening. You know, what you put up there is up there. And again, just random unsolicited opinions, you know, it's going to be consumed by everybody who watches it, obviously. Personally, professionally, I don't defend my art. It's out there, right? So just a word, because when I'm circling around is that there have been situations, again, over the years, where I've encountered filmmakers who did sort of, they're their buddy, their, you know, their DP, whatever role. They may have got a little more happy about their relationship over their skill level, and it'll suffer in the final screen, the final you know, the final cut. So just again, I like to plant little nuggets here and there. Is there anything else you'd like to add, RJ? Just again, this is the overall, so we're gonna have plenty of time to talk. Is there anything extra? Did I cut you off, or is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. I tend to go off on tangents too, so I think I stopped at a good place.
We're cut of the same cloth then.
Yeah.
Sabrina, how awesome are you? Tell everybody.
Well, so I made this film for, very, like just no budget and no plan. I mean, I had a little bit of a plan, which was basically just make a feature film, and I just used whatever I had. I broke the rule by like employing all of my friends and family and Katrina's friends. Literally all the children are played by Katrina's friends. All the extras are Katrina's friends and Gasahn's friends and people that they knew from middle school. And Gasahn, we just didn't even know if he could act or not. We were just like, he's, friends with Katrina, he's available, so let's just try it. And he was like, okay. So, and then for the adult actors, Linda, Steven, and Kevin, they were the three that I went on backstage and actually auditioned, and then they were gracious enough to come and work and sacrifice all their time and just I guess bet on me and to be a part of this film, knowing that I'd never done a feature film before. So thank you, Linda. And then Aneese was like my best friend in school, and we did film class together. In Miss Reyes, my film teacher, is in the audience, and so in her class, that's when I decided I was going to become a filmmaker. And then I was like, Aneese, do you want to do a film with me? And he was like, yeah. So that's how that happened. And then so yeah, I shot it in May of 2019, which was my last month of high school, and then I finished it the summer after I graduated, finished shooting. And then I was on and off again with the editing. It took a while, and I was just kind of figuring out how everything worked and tried to just make it the best quality I could while using Final Cut. And we even did dubbing. We still worked on dubbing last year, and we used like iPhones because we thought the sound quality was okay enough. And I couldn't have people come to the house and dub, so I had people just record what I needed and then send it. And that was kind of frustrating, but it worked. And I bet it was frustrating for them, but we needed to do that. And then so I finished editing it last year and shot it on my two DSLR cameras, and just used like flimsy old tripods and a gimbal that I had, and yeah, that's how that went.
I told you last night, you make me sick. You really,
seriously.
Yeah, because I mean, part of me was trying to hold back the reins. I don't know if I was successful last evening, because you were there with some pros. Last night they've got a few more scars, and this. Because I mentioned to you in an email, we're going to talk offline later after Fest. So we're either going to be powerful allies and colleagues in the Northern Virginia area, or one of us will have to destroy each other. Just it's going to be one or the other. There is no in the middle.
It's going to be the first one.
Okay. Good. I was busy. Because so much of what you're saying, you innately, and I'm going to kiss your behind a lot throughout this, so just be all prepared. The innately in your film, because even as you say, I'm getting I just graduated or was in school at the time. I was like, please say film school. I know it's high school, but so much of your film is polished. And again, this is just Fernando's opinion. From the DP work, I don't know how much Aneese was a part of that. And the big thing, the big thing, because as you can imagine, over the years, we get a lot of, I wouldn't say amateur, but first-time filmmakers. You have an innate gift for blocking and framing and movement. That really, not at the end of the day, but it's one of the many bottom lines, but easily one of the pillars is your camera movement. And this is on the business side, as we shared last evening. It's huge. It's huge. Too many times I see films, I can tell, you can tell right away they put a lot of effort and time and money and so on and so forth, but it's like a lock shot on three individuals and they're just talking like, yeah. So you had everything from racking focus and all these little professional moves. There, I won't say tricks because there's a point where there's a line now. It's artistry, and then you're capturing the essence of the moment, the sweetness of the actors, and the dialogue, so on and so forth. So for you to do that in your for a feature film, and it's your first feature film. I mean, I only know of one other person who's that incredible, right here. So that's why we're going to team up. But anyway, we're going to keep going across the board. Linda, mom.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, which one was
Yeah, just please introduce yourself, and then I think you might have said it earlier, but yeah, your role and any other insight you have into the production cycle of the film.
Yeah, so I again played Tammy, the mom. Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting as an actor, like, when you're presented with a student film opportunity, right? Because it can go really bad or you can have a great experience. So I knew from day one that this was going to be a good experience because she's a perfectionist. And I think I reached out to her every 4 to 6 months and was like, when is this coming out? Because I knew it was going to be great. But, that and alongside of these incredible other actors, they were just so talented. And I was also jealous on set. I'm like, wow, like they're just right off the bat, like incredible. And so it was, like any student film or any film, the long days, and Steven made it fun. Steven Sorrento, even though he's not here, he's a real character. So he made the days go by really quickly. But the experience overall was really great. I mean, it was a lot of hard work, but again, she was very conscientious and diligent about making sure the actors were comfortable and, keeping us informed of what was going on. That doesn't always happen. So that was appreciative for sure. But I knew that's why I kept bugging you, like when it was coming out, because I knew it was going to be great. And it is. It's fantastic.
I mean, maybe as a more pure actor with experience, Linda, my take is with the two leads we have here, where they could have easily suffered as first-time actors without the skill, classic training, perhaps. The chemistry was there, so there was like a naturalness between the interplay. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. But I think even so, like I think even if they didn't have that, they were just naturally talented. They just released any kind of nervousness, insecurity. Maybe that's because everyone knew each other, everyone's familiar with each other. That could have been it. But I also think they're just naturally talented. I don't know if you want to pursue that, you guys, but you should definitely think about it if you're not.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go into a deeper dive later. But yeah. So how was Sabrina as a first-time director? How much of the role did you craft your make into your own, or how much of it was like straight off the page?
Well, the dynamic between Todd and Tammy is very similar to my dynamic at home. It wasn't a stretch for me to play that role. But Sabrina made, she had some direction, but I think I understood what she was going for, and so she let me go. But she was very, like I said, she was very aware and made sure that everyone was, okay, not, understanding what she was doing. Because, sometimes it takes a long time sometimes, and she was just getting the hang of it and trying to figure out how she wanted to, shoot each individual scene. And so it takes time. But the difference with her and other projects I've been on is she was just very communicative and, making sure everyone was comfortable and, acknowledging that, hey, I know this is taking a long time and, this is what I'm trying. She was kind of just keeping us informed, which doesn't always happen. So I appreciated that.
Kudos to you, Sabrina. Being mentory, I think I mentioned to you last evening that it doesn't matter. You're Spielberg, James Cameron, whatever. You're always learning on set. You're always learning something new on set. Some of it, obviously, you're a pro. But yeah, that's always going to be the case every production you do. RJ, fight me if you disagree. But because as a true artist, unless you're just really into just churning out Transformer movies, even those, there's going to be a different set. There's going to be a different challenge. You can't fight the urge or passion not to just push it at an extra level or take a different pivot. And I, in all the hardcore creative roles, I think that's the case. So, speaking of different roles, on the crew side, Aneese, tell us of your experience on this first voyage journey.
Sorry, I'm in a public space right now.
It adds to the ambiance.
So it was an interesting situation we kind of had, because at the end of our senior year at the high school I was at, we were given a month to do something called senior experience, and some students will work for a politician as a caller, or some students will just get a job and say that's their senior experience. I actually had 2 senior experiences in that I worked at Safeway for a couple of months and then was also on Sabrina's set as like this as her, second unit director. And it was just a very interesting part, because now that I've gone to film school, and as you said earlier, Sabrina's got a lot of stuff that's very indicative of like the industry standard style. Like in all of my directing classes, I think about, there's something that Sabrina did on her set that I'm like, oh, so that's why that worked. Or, oh, that's why that looks good. Like recently in one of my classes with the man who directed Boogie Nights, he went and said, the reason we don't really use still cameras anymore is because it just does not, it's the industry standard look is to have moving cameras, whether that's moving even slightly, you need to have that, otherwise you're never going to get hired anymore, because we've moved on to be like, if we can move the camera, let's move it with either an internal, external, or just have like an establishing shot. And Sabrina managed to do that with just a DSLR and a gimbal. And so it's just amazing to me that it's like, it was a very fun and interesting way to see stuff that would be echoing throughout my film studies, like at this school for years afterwards.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I'll throw this out there again. I just like throwing nuggets again to just increase people's production value. One of the main comments I received from my sales agent, and again, they go through thousands of films over the years. The big comment, which is, it's really just a production thing, visually, movement. I said it before, just have some movement, don't lock. And then, just hope that your imagination gets communicated. Today's audiences are so sophisticated that, and again, forgive me, I mentioned again from last evening, you have to produce your film, RJ, just like you're competing, not just like, but you are competing against the Avengers. That's the level of quality you have to go in, your mindset and mentality as you go in. Anything less than you're setting yourself, I won't say setting yourself up for failure, lack of better coined term, but your level of quality has to be that good, because from all the films on Netflix and Hulu and on and on and on, that's really who you've got to match up against, and have that kind of mentality. And again, you both, sorry, we have all Sabrina people here, RJ, so she's sucking up all the oxygen. But yeah, it's in watching your film, you just had so many polished features that people have to either get classically trained in, and maybe your teacher was fantastic in high school, but I usually, again, on my side of the fence, I mean, I'm a filmmaker too, it's been a while, but on my side of the fence, you can spot right away somebody who's actually gone to school, on various levels. The business side, you bring in names of celebrities, they knew you had to bring a name if this is going to be marketable at all. But just the simple pushes, a pull, a rack focus, knowing that GC is talking, but the attention needs to be on Katrina, because it's the reaction that's the sweet spot in the scene. So yeah, it's just making me pull the reins back, but it's just amazing what you're able to pull off as a first time. And I'll have further comments. I'll be more brutal later, but It's just so awesome from the get go. From the, and RJ, maybe you'll attest, because there are different schools of thoughts and schools of thought as far as a filmmaker and how you approach your first production. A traditional path has been, do a short film, do a concept piece, and then get earn your scars and then understand and build your craft working with directors and locations and the myriad of different roles, and then jump to a feature film. On that same note, I mean, I'm guilty. I'm a Sabrina in the same sense. I didn't do short films. I went straight for the gut and I did a feature clumsily, and it wasn't planned. But a feature film, I've been told, and from experience, I would agree that it's a lot more work. It's double the time, sweat, effort that a short film would take. But you want to get forward faster, just go ahead and go for it. I mean, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. The hours are forever. But again, just another unsolicited take. One of my measures I've developed over the years is a clock or my watch. That's how I know. If I look at the clock or my watch and I go, crap, another 8 hours of this, before we're done, I'm in the wrong place. But if I look at the clock and go, crap, we only have 8 hours, that's where you want to be. And that tends to be a head bobber for most, if not every filmmaker who actually, it's a sickness, really, a curse. If you have a passion for it, and again, I mentioned this in one of the earlier Q&As, when you're, as an artist, because we all are artists here, this is the most expensive craft on the planet. When you're in the middle of the process of either engaged or producing art, my opinion, you're neither young or old. You're not rich, you're not poor, and hell, you're not even tired sometimes, after an 18+ hour day, just because you want to capture that one shot, or this is one moment. Oh, we got to, I don't know. Even if you're striking the set, you're still, your mind's still going. We need to put this piece of equipment over here because that's where we're shooting tomorrow, or in a few hours. So it's always going. But if you have that passion, man, and it's apparent if you got into Nova Fest, you have that passion. That's like an underlying unsaid element outside of everything else. So yeah, I can't say enough about both your films. And by the way, I'm going to bring it back to you a bit, RJ. Every year, again, I'm just speaking for the Nova Fest, and every festival is different. There tends to be a theme every year, or a reoccurring genre per se. And for whatever, because our first year, for whatever reason, we didn't advertise it back in 2015, 16. We got like 8 really excellent horror films. Like, I'm not a horror film fan myself, and I curate heavily on the films. And that first year, the horror film actually won best cinematography. It was just, almost generic. It was a young teenage college girl who woke up in her underwear in a locked room with several other women who were unconscious in their underwear. Okay, it's your basic setup, and it's almost an escape room thing. But the cinematography was on point. It was just absolutely gorgeous. Which, in general, again, it's Hollywood. You can break the rules. Rom-coms and horror movies, the DP work is usually not what you're going for. It can be very, very flat. So over the years, war films, I think is last year, the year before, whether it was World War I, II, Vietnam, we just got a plethora of war films. This go round, and it seems to be a trend in the industry in general. We received a couple of really great films that dealt with blindness. You see that in the big giant movies right now. I'm not sure how that manifested, but in your case, there are at least 3 films right off the top of my head that are Nova Fest. They're all great films, but dealing with AI, romantic relation, virtual ships, either with robots or in your case, it's just that again because I'm trying not to say virtual too much,
but that extra layer of disconnectivity, or something
even artificial cosmetic, you're not getting to that face-to-face, flesh-to-flesh chemistry, which hard segue, which has been a theme throughout in the past couple of years. That's what we're missing here. This is kind of cool. We're getting to know each other, and there's some people in the crowd, and we're going to get to interchange and exchange. But there's nothing that really can replace if we were at the Angelica and Fairfax and the corridor conferences. And I'm going to keep repeating this, where you start collaborating or meeting people that you would never have met in different. I mean, I don't want to say we're all that. I mean, you go to a panel or something. Other festivals, but there's just a special magic of seeing a film and then actually meeting the filmmaker right after, a couple days after, post watching the film. To, again, what we usually do is we have pre-screening receptions right before the film. So you're, because we take over the Mosaic, we usually during pre-screenings we'll get some kind of retail store, a dress shop, cosmetics, whatever, and you just meet people as a human being. You start talking, then you watch their film, and you're like, oh crap, this is, there's so much more. I get this all the time. I'm not bragging or you, but I'll meet a celebrity or a director, whatever, and I'll know them as a human being. Okay, good character, nice person, want to know them. Then, oh, I forgot you're an actor, and like you're not actually an assassin or what have you. And then we have the post-production. Post-screening after parties every evening. Again, we'll take over one of the restaurants in the Mosaic, and literally, film productions are manifested all of a sudden just because a filmmaker sees an actor, or just by face value, they go, "Wow!" And a screenplay is written in their head. I think I mentioned that last night, Sabrina. But and then the other side of it too, just as an actor, oh, we saw Katrina and GC. They were just like, wow, they would be. I didn't have a plan for you to be in my film, but that I know you can pull this off. I'd love to have you in there. It's the stuff that can't be programmed at all. That's the fun magic, and it's killing me that we couldn't have it again this year. I had to pull the plug somewhat last minute in January. We'll see next year, but that means you guys have to produce more stuff. But yeah, as a newbie, Sabrina, the definitely as a feature film, but even short films, really, but absolutely feature films, you're going to be married to this for at least 8 years. This will be with you for the rest of your life, but it's going to be robust and as actors, because you're always going to be judged, like it or not, on your last production. And that goes, again, Tom Cruise, whatever. If they have one flop, Tom Hanks, Will Smith, whatever, but with all of you, you've got Aneese, you all have I don't know, just you all have such polished natural abilities. RJ, because this is usually later, but are you working on something right now, or you have a feature film maybe in your sights? Are you writing? What's going on?
There's at least 3 feature films running in my head right now. One that takes place in New York, because I spent an internship up there 12 years ago now. So it's influenced by that. There's one that takes place here. There's a lot, but short films are the easiest thing for me to do right now. We are in the middle of casting the next one, and we're trying to shoot in August this year. So
what's the title?
What's that?
What's the title?
Oh,
the title. You gotta market, man. Promote.
It's called Now, Never, Whenever.
That's a good title.
Yeah.
Again, little nugget. You picked it up from. I said it last evening, and I'll say it at pretty much every Q&A. We're not in the filmmaking business. We're in the marketing business. Put your hat on. Your Arnold Schwarzenegger hat on.
Mm-hmm.
As big as famous as he is, just catch him. You'll feel Jingle Bells, best movie ever. It doesn't. He just. It doesn't. It could be the most horrible film, whatever. But you got to know the tricks of the game and constantly promote. Shamelessly, if you can make it out, it's an extra option or fee, but shamelessly, if you can make it out to the film market, we're going to have our sales agents there, and they will tell you in very cold and cruel, well, not so cruel, they're nice people, but you'll know when that visage comes over and they talk about straight up business, and they'll tell you your film's not going to sell, or it's not going to go here or there. Again, as I mentioned last night, the silver lining for everything when it comes to trying to get your films out there is that there is a market for your film. There's an audience. finding it, that's the hook, and monetizing it. So this is what you do for a living. Yeah, it's really different for different roles. Aneese, if you're mostly kind of a crew person, unless you're, I don't know if you're there for filmmaking proper. Um, there's just such a variety of things you can do in this area. Whether if you didn't know it, we're the #1 place on the planet for documentaries. Mostly because of DC, because where does the money come from for grants, so on and so forth. And I'm pretty sure um, Silver Docs AFI is in Maryland is the biggest doc festival on the planet. So along with that, so many PBS, Nat Geo, Discovery. So if you're into that production, and there's room for that in the acting world as well, if you're a spokesperson or what have you, picking your direction where you want to go. Otherwise, it's LA, Miami, New York, sort of. And then there's this pandemic thing, so that kind of puts a spin. But and forgive me again, I can be a bit of a blowhard. I just love sharing information. Some of our veteran producers, it's all about the hustle. That's the silver lining. What we do is very, very difficult. It's all about the hustle. A lot, I won't say a lot, but because the U.S. has been so restrictive, because you mentioned the COVID situation, Sabrina, you didn't have to face it so much, but they've been going to Eastern Europe. They've been going down to Mexico to shoot their films, and it's actually cheaper than shooting here because of now. This is the hardcore business part. Maybe we'll chat about later. Maybe you can learn from the film. Because I'll give you access to all the agents later. That's an open door. But understanding how tax credits work and grants and you just have to be resourceful as hell. I mean, which that's what I'm saying. Some of what you have, Sabrina, is just already polished because you were able to bring on people like Linda or recruit. You got really lucky with with your sister and GC because they nailed it on the screen. But that's part of it. Anyway, long-winded me. Sabrina, what project? Where are you right now with your current project? And do you have stuff lined up as well?
As in current project, you mean like with DOE and the
Yes.
Death on Evergreen?
Mhm.
Well, it's still in the beginning of the festival run.
Okay.
Yeah, I was I know how last night the other directors were saying they had a plan. I did not have a plan with submitting this to festivals. I did know I was going to submit it to Nova because I had heard about it. I'd even heard about it in high school, I think, because I think my teacher told me about it or told the class about it. So I was like, well, I'm
You
going
have
to
the
submit
best
that.
teacher.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Reyes. And so I knew I was going to submit to Nova, but I still have quite a few to hear back from, and so yeah, I've just started hearing back. This was like the third one that I heard back from. So it's gonna run until the end of the year, I think, if we get into other ones, but we'll see. And I do have other projects lined up. I've been writing. I have a pilot that I've sent into some competitions. It's about I'm trying to get a little more Asian American focused with because just that's my experience, and so I made a pilot on Asian American teens and kind of like based on people I knew and how I grew up, and then also mixed with like the classical music world. So basically like Asian American teens and orchestra. So I have that going on right now, which I'm excited about. We'll see if anything happens, but if not, I'll just make it myself. And yeah, some other things just floating around.
So you're in the nerd world too, when you mentioned cosplay. That you're in the nerd world also, and when you mentioned cosplay, you know that quadrant of the entertainment.
No, I said orchestra.
Oh, I thought you said cosplay.
No,
I could have sworn. Okay.
No, I'm a classical music nerd though, so.
Okay. Yeah. Quick shout out again. It's just a lot of work, due diligence. If you're not already, follow CAPE. I forgot what the acronym stands for, but that's like the Hollywood Asian Pacific Islander, bigger Hollywood crew locally, and they have different festivals. There's also the APA, I believe is the acronym. Follow them as far as the Asian genre group. And there's another big deal I'm working on right now. I'm going to keep close to the vest, but get to know me. Maybe I can, I don't know, potentially networking to them as well out in LA. But yeah, definitely. Gosh, yeah, I'm just really excited for you and your actors. If you want to go that route, let me segue that back up to your two young actors. And by the way, because I'm looking at Aneese, who just disappeared on me. Well, tell him later if he misses this, Sabrina. But if you hadn't already realized, and I know RJ has to know this, but the norm is you will be working on several projects at the same time in different stages. That's normal. That's absolutely normal. You wish like, oh, I got this feature film. Okay, I'm going to cast it. But there's always 2 or 3 other things, especially if you're working and you're not even if you're Spielberg, you've got 3 projects on the line, and you're setting up an audition for 2028. It's a random thought. But can we hear from our 2 young actors as far as, did you get the bug? Is this something you want to pursue as a sideline thing? How serious and not serious are you?
Riveting commentary, you two.
Okay, I'll go first.
They want to do
The
silent
answer is
films.
yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, no, I want to pursue this like with Sabrina. I want to like keep going with everything that she has, like all of her stories, and I want to help her if she needs like actors or like a writer. I want to like keep going in this industry, I guess. Yeah, it was just like a really good experience, so I like kind of got hooked.
GC?
I mean, it was nothing I ever considered doing until this opportunity came up, and it was a great experience. But I mean, there are other things that I'm interested in, and so I mean, if another opportunity came up, Sabrina or otherwise, I mean, I would definitely consider it. But at the moment, I think my future probably isn't in the acting industry.
Okay.
He's a little more science school based. He's very smart.
You really never know. I think again, you guys were very blessed in the fact that you have a natural, your friends, whatever, you have a chemistry. So that was absolutely communicated on screen. For both of you, let me pose this question: how much of your characters were you, and how much of it were something you created and put out there?
We were friends like since 7th grade, so we'd been friends for like a couple of years or like a year beforehand, and we knew each other through band, and like the characters were somewhat similar to us. So like sometimes I wouldn't even like realize I was acting because it just seemed like something that I would do.
Okay.
But I know Parker was a lot like sort of slower to like catch the I like the big idea than like Gasahn is in real life, because like he's very fast, and Teddy is a little more like out there and like willing to break laws than I am, because not into that lifestyle. um but yeah, there was like they were such like well thought out characters, I think, and they felt very nuanced, but like part of it was still me. And yeah, so it was just like, I don't know, it was a good like acting sort of experience, because I didn't have to like try like super hard, because it was partially something that I was familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say a similar thing. I mean, when I first read the script, I was worried, like, oh, am I going to be able to see myself portraying this person? And after finishing, I was like, yeah, I think I can do this. Parker's a little bit aloof, not not great at reading the social situation or social cues. So I know I was able to lean into that, and it was a mixture of, there was definitely some me in there, and then there was another layer of me trying to add to it.
Well, I mean, RJ, have you caught the film yet? Their film?
Oh
It's
yeah.
one of the 3
No,
features. Okay.
You had stepped out before we started, and I was just singing praises to all three of them.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
If like I mentioned to Katrina, like it felt like watching a Spielberg film, or Stranger Things or something. Like the chemistry that you two had was just so natural, and it sucked me in. It kept me focused the entire time. I was like, I want to know what happens to them. I hope they're okay. And then the end comes, and I'm going, okay, that's really serious. I really hope nothing bad happens to either of them because they're fantastic. No, I love the dynamic. I love that little bit at the end where Gasahn, your character asks like, do I have to bring my laptop this time or whatever? And it's like, oh, it was great. I loved watching you two. It was fantastic.
Pretty smooth move, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Linda, you and I maybe are over 20 years old. Stranger Things was mentioned earlier. One aspect of that, out of all the cool stuff that comes out of it, kind of like, again, I'm a nerd, so Stranger Things or Spider-Man, eras and environments actually become a character. Like in Spider-Man, New York is like a character. In Stranger Things, the 80s is almost a character. In watching their film, because you remind me, RJ, I felt like I was around that age. Those were the ways I would think and talk and communicate. And the Katrina's character is kind of feisty and overbearing, but there's a love there, right?
So funnily enough, their relationship reminded me of me and Emily's, and she's the lead actress in Table.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of how we grew up together. I was
okay. Insider stuff. Awesome.
And she was very much like, no, we got to do this thing. Come on, we got to make this movie. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. And she's like, I don't care. Let's just make it. So I guess in a way it kind of reminded me of that too. And thinking
so
about
again,
it,
you also it sounds like you also benefited from having a relationship prior to production.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned it. Some of this is repetitive, but it's worth repeating, in my opinion. So many times, actors, directors, DPs, they are in all the same productions. And Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe, or again Robert Rodriguez, Spielberg. They all have the same DPs because they have that natural chemistry. And obviously, Sabrina, you've probably known Katrina, more than a couple years. You don't have to explain thoroughly in detail about what you're expecting here. There may be just a nod or a wince, and or maybe you just both have a synchronatic moment, if that's a word, and you're like, oh, we're gonna do it this way. And do you mind if I just call you GC, because that's what it's my go-to when I see your screen? Is that cool? Yeah, you did a great job, man. I mean, that you portrayed that awkward kid at that age, and it things are going right over your head. I'm trying to remember that one scene that you brought. There was like this was the priority hot topic at the moment, and you just totally missed it and went over you. So you're kind of the dopey, as I'm not going to say it was me, but or RJ, but kind of the dopey kid. We didn't know anything in 7th grade, but then at the end, when push came to shove, you jumped in. You were loyal. You jumped in front of your friend, and good job writing, Sabrina. Like, didn't know you had it in you, kid. I was like, hooray,
not
hero!
Even that, but had the phone in his pocket too. Like, he came prepared. He knew what he was doing.
But you know what I'm saying? Because there was growth in the character, and again, I mentioned it before. There's so many different. That's again. So I don't know how to. I'm just smooching you all over the place here, but there were so many subplots that came together. There were arcs of each character. Kudos to you, Katrina, because you had to carry it as the main actress. But then as supporting actors, as you are this all-powerful character who's got her poop together, and just you're getting it done, and I don't care if you're in my way. Either work with me or get out of my way, right? Mentality. But then you kind of needed help at the end. It wasn't all about you, which was and then again, obviously with GC, he's this kind of timid and just riding your coattails, but he's got a little stuff to him, and then he grows because he had to at the end. So I mean, so again, kudos Sabrina in writing that. Kudos to you guys for portraying that. But then were you taught this by any of your teachers, Sabrina? Like the very beginning, you look at it in screenplays. You look at a Kevin Smith. Be a craft of your art. Read some screenplays, like films you like. But I remember as a good example, Kevin Smith screenplay. The first page or so it was describing the elements of this person's room. You know, how he or she had the things in there, the books that were on the shelf. Because now, without saying a word, you have an insight into your protagonist without anything. And then same here with your film. Again, please let me know if you were taught this, but the first, the vital first 60 seconds, like 007 or James Bond, right off the bat, they're doing there's no dialogue per se, but it's either a sexy scene or it's a giant acrobatic stunt scene. You have an idea, but they got you. From your opening scene, it was something to deal with crime and thriller investigation. Not a word was said. It was again, your DP work was awesome. So because I know it's just some person flashing a light in front of the window or whatever, but that's that's insider stuff. But it was, I was in. RJ, I don't want this to be a total love fest, but they outnumber us by quite a few here.
It's all good.
But is that something you learned? Is that something RJ? I'll ask the directors that in writing your piece, is that something you are aware of right off the cuff? That first page or even first 3 pages, generously, they have to engage your viewer right off the bat.
Yeah, first minute, really. You gotta lock them in somehow, and setting up that mystery. Sabrina, you nailed it. I was already going, I hope they didn't commit this crime, whatever this is. Like, they seem too innocent. But yeah.
Sabrina, have you watched his film Table for Two yet?
I haven't yet, and I told him because I was planning on it. I didn't get to today, but
it's a short film. Come on, invest in other people.
I know.
I made it easy for you.
I know. I have to go watch it. But,
see, for you, RJ, again, every film, what makes it a Nova, there's just got to be that je ne sais quoi, that moment, like, you got it. There's a bit of magic there. Again, can't put a name or adjective on it, but that moment, as you mentioned, where reality hit, where there's a kind of a naughty moment, I'll put it there, and then all of a sudden it just crashes. Like, oh, it's $1.25 or it's 15. You get the discount, right? Yeah, that's not a spoiler. That's not. Well, you know what? Her fault for not watching. It's not big enough a spoiler, I don't think. But to me, that was the peak of your film. That moment was the quintessential moment that describes the entire underbelly of what I hope you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
And again, with a feature, it's such a different beast.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Sabrina's film and Katrina's and GC's and Linda's, you had multiple moments like that. Like, oh, you just know it. Whether it's your own movies or you're going to the Angelica and you see a mainstream film, like, oh, it's Spider-Man doing this, or it's Denzel doing that. You just have that emotional connection.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's what sells is bringing the humanity out. Whether it's a lighter piece. And don't get me wrong when I say this. When I mentioned GC's part, like him coming into his own when poop hit the road, it was time to go. It was go time, and yeah, it does. So it doesn't have to be, what do they call it? Like the horror porn where they're slashing off legs and just for shock value. If you can do it in a subtle but profound way, bam, yeah, you got it. You're on your way now. Making that happen all throughout your production and then monetizing it, that's the major hook. I don't want to keep you out of the loop too much here, Linda. I mean, yourself, is this are you in the area yourself? I can only presume because Sabrina, are you in the DMV Nova area?
Yes, I'm in Arlington.
Oh no, Linda, not Sabrina.
Oh,
I know where you are. Linda, is that how you recruited?
I'm actually in Maryland. Yeah, I'm not too far.
Okay.
About 45.
It's the DMV.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to put a little spotlight on you. What's your and we got to watch out because I can hear the reverb from my talking on your screen. What's your experience as an actor in this area?
Yeah, I really do it just for a creative outlet. I mean, obviously I have a survival job and, and I do this, if I find a really interesting project, then I'll do it. And, it's been interesting during the pandemic because, but I got quite a few opportunities during the pandemic and worked with some really good projects. But, it's tough. It's tough. And, especially for me at my age, right? It's like, I tend to get the same roles, right? So you want to like, and I'm happy to do that. I just want to make sure that it's a good project with great writing and directors and crew that are going to be really respectful and committed to the project and organized, right? Because if I'm doing this like me and you're doing it as a creative outlet on the side, you have to make sure that people are going to be professional and keep to their schedules and, you know, do what they say they're going to do and things like that. So it's been interesting. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm you know, comparing it to other markets, it's probably a lot different. I don't have experience in other markets, just in the DMV market. But I do occasionally go to New York for projects. My daughter lives in Brooklyn, so I have a place to stay if it's a you know, no pay situation. But I like doing stuff like that because I like working with people that are just getting into it. So I don't mind doing projects like that. Because I do it just for the creative outlet. You know, I don't do it because I'm trying to, you know, break into, you know, I'm not moving to California or New York anytime soon. So I'm just doing this as a creative outlet. I like it a lot, so it's fun. It's just, you know, right now coming out of the pandemic, I can see like the activity really kind of scaling up. So that's exciting.
Okay. So forgive me, did you go through an audition process with Sabrina and her people?
Yeah, we had, you know, she asked for tape submissions. Yeah, and so we did that. Yeah. I can't remember. I think that's what we did, right, Sabrina? I don't know that you had in-person auditions, but I can't remember.
Yeah, we did backstage.
Yeah, so it was a tape submission. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a new thing. RJ, maybe I'm talking the cathedral, not even the choir. From my actor friends, that's usually, you know, for you two up there, maybe less GC, but Katrina, it's a lot of self tapes. It's a lot of actually, I've in the most recently the actor friends I've talked to, there've been very little face-to-face auditions, if at all. They've all been in this space.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, please. I talk too much.
No, so yeah, you know, self tapes. Our actor or lead actor Landon, who played Chris, everything was done virtually for him except for
well, he was all virtual in his role, so
it was all yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry,
so
spoiler.
Yeah, he's kind of living it out like throughout the audition and even through the filming of it. You know, we even told him, it's like, you don't have to come on the first day of shooting, but you can if you want to, and just kind of hang out with us. And he ended up being really valuable, and we got to shoot his phone footage for that little bit that you see at the beginning. So it all kind of worked out. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know him beforehand. He was recommended to me by my old high school teacher. I was kind of reaching out. I was like, hey, do you know anyone? And I think he had graduated a few years after I did, way back when. But yeah, I sent him an email, you know, and I said, hey, if you're interested, just send in a self-tape. Just so you know, there's a good chance that, like, because we were still kind of going back and forth whether or not we were going to actually cut to him at all, where he was living in the film. So I was like, you know, this may all be done virtually. We may actually go and shoot your coverage. We don't know yet. But are you fine if we go all virtual? And he was like, I'm already doing it. So, let's just make it happen in whatever way works best for the film.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little less. Again, I'm not sure how long in the tooth you are, RJ, but from my experience across the board, filmmaking, teaching, and even when I was a student, auditioning, I don't like it. It's like they're long
sucks.
hours,
Yeah.
and what you get in front of you, maybe not what you get when the camera gets hot and you start rolling. It's not the same person. Like, what happened to this incredible experience I had, like at the conference or whatever, when we audition you? Now you're just like flat, or you don't understand. Who's your eye line here? Eye line? You're like speaking Greek Chinese to them. And not all the time, but when it does happen, it's very frustrating. Because you spend time, you're going through the headshots, and then you set up at least, so again, share on your end. But when I do auditions, and I've done them across the country, like in Hollywood proper, and like at the Stella Theater in Hollywood, in front of the Walk of Stars, everything, and less than 50% show up. The lack of professionalism from actors is astounding, if not breathtaking. But yeah, what has your audition experience been, RJ and Sabrina? Maybe less around how much you've delved into it. Either of
Well,
you?
I've just used Backstage for all of my. I've only used it for like two projects. The first time I used it was in when I was still in high school and I was doing my student films, and then we went on a class trip to New York for the All American High School Film Festival, and then we had like 3 days to shoot and edit a short film. And that was like my first time like directing. It was very stressful, but I had auditioned people who lived in New York, and then when we went up there, we met them and then shot, and then but so that's the first time I used Backstage, and I was like, oh, I can do this again. And then I just used it again for Death on Evergreen. But other than that, I usually just I know I should stop doing this because it's breaking the rule, and also it could mess some things up. But I just kind of think about who would fit that I know or that Katrina knows, and because that's all I had access to were like Katrina's friends, and then I just thought like they look the part, and they have this kind of like they work well with Katrina. So then I was like, okay, then maybe I'll try to like direct them, and they've never acted before. But yeah, I'd like I'd like to have more experience in auditioning people and even like live auditions. I think that would be. I know it does sound stressful hearing you guys talk about it, but it'd just be something interesting to try out.
Well,
One thing she did really well though was the character breakdown. So it was clear to me what she was looking for. I mean, you know, sometimes you don't always get that good amount of information. So at least you knew how to at least give us the information to give a good tape submission.
Thank you.
when both of you, RJ and Sabrina, are like at that next super duper studio level, that you'll start understanding and seeing why you have casting directors and why you go to the agency. So you don't have to worry about that. You can concentrate on, because really at every level, you have your Aneese to be your second union director to take care of craft, and you have your producers, your location scouts. But absolutely, I know I felt the gravity and the importance of having a casting director. And again, we're going to talk. We're going to talk later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I need one for this next project that I'm working on. I had to reach out to one of my friends who is a casting director, and I said, I don't know how to approach this with this actor who auditioned for the film, who is great but isn't right for the role. Like, how do I how do I approach that with them? What's the best way to go about it? And yeah, you're right. Like, it's
please. I mean, I keep concentrating because we have a prior relationship from yesterday. But aside from that, please, RJ, you have absolute access with me as well with any of my network. It's a pretty small community from the DMV down to Richmond in terms of, I'm friends with Kimberly Skirm out in Baltimore, but everybody has sort of staked out their regions. Again, in Richmond, DC proper, and really in particular, I won't say genres or production sizes, but at least in this area, there's a small high school of community of of casting agents. And again, it's nice. It costs money. Don't get me wrong. Like every role, like DP, what have you. But you hire them, and they already have their own Rolodex, and keep an active list of vetted actors. So Katrina, like if you're going to be, it's really at every role, but like with you as an actor, um, should you get very serious about it, that's when you start things like uh, getting a manager and an agent, understanding what the difference between the two of those are, understanding how much the value of your headshots. Are you going to be the professional businesswoman? Are you an action hero? The nuances of its, your generic main headshot, it's going to be mid torso and face. You'll have a certain look. Hair and makeup have to be a certain touch. If you're going to be an action star, you need to have like mid to like almost, but all but full body. I mean, they're like new, and maybe Linda can attest to that, but there are different nuances to the actual business side. And because I can tell you right now, a manager can make or break you as far as actually getting work. But I'm friends with some people who have been very, very successful, and they trade managers like every other season. And again, I want to say the seedier side, but it has nothing to do with the actual craft. We mentioned some of this, Sabrina, in other quadrants last evening, but it getting, for example, an agent who handles like some major big celebrities, because at the end of the day, it seems to be a theme here. It's kind of a big giant fat high school. Everybody sort of knows everybody, and it's the human equation where the agent happens to know somebody at Sony or Universal, and they got this coming up. And I can tell you, because I don't want to. You're so awesome on the scene, Katrina. I don't think that you're that good an actress yet, so I'm going to presume that you are that awesome a person. Um, I mean, I feel bad as peer actors. Wow. The only thing lower I can think of as a musician, as far as just getting beat up. It's a strange world of. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be too poo poo. I just don't want you to go in too naively. I don't know. Maybe Linda test, but get used to a lot of rejection, a lot of no's, a lot of walking into. I hear this story all the time. Walking into a casting call where you see 20 identical people. um you know they need a woman, guy, this tall, blonde, dark hair, and you walk in, and if they made it that far, probably, unless it's pure ego, they've got a certain degree of actors. I have so much respect for like actors proper who this is their vocation, and because I've been with them on set, and I like, again, I know them as a person, but all of a sudden action, and it's kind of a schizophrenia. It's a totally different human being in front of you. And when I've been in front of the camera, it's happened to me a couple times where it kind of takes me out of myself. Like, we're cool, right? You're not really you're not really angry or anything. um but again, go watch that guy's film, all of you, and get to see, because again, you're always learning, always, always learning, from all aspects. Um, but again, I'm starting to talk too much. Where are we at? Okay, we still have a little more time. Is there anything that in the back of your mind that you want to to share with about your film? If not, that's fine too. But if there was something that you just want to get out there, again, again, we're in a marketing business. So if there's something where you want to grab a clip piece, a soundbite later that you'll put in your marketing collateral, now is one of the times, because you're in this kind of cool space, and and you want to be fancy, right?
Sabrina, can I ask you a question?
Yes, of
So,
course.
so this was, your first, your first project. What was the hardest day for you? What was the longest and hardest day for you?
Okay, well, there was a day that we just, because of everybody's availability, and because the adult actors had to travel so far, there was a day where I think it was the day where we did the family dinner scene. That was rough, because we had to go pretty late,
Yeah.
and I think we had some scenes that we had shot earlier in the day too, and then we had to just wait for a bit for it to get dark and then for other people to arrive, and so it was a really long day, and I had Aneese was there. Like, I would have died without Aneese, because Aneese was also like protecting me from like things too, like going like just kind of like hiding things that were going to give me stress, or like shooing people away if I needed to focus. And so thank you so much, Aneese, for that. I know he's not here, but it was very tight. We went really late into the night, and I also had some of Katrina and Gasahn's friends on the set too, because I also had there's this Katrina's friend named Lauren, who was also a PA, and she was amazing, and she had to stay in, and it was just stressful because I needed to get the kids home. But yeah, that took a long time. There were a lot of camera angles, and I was just kind of like running on fumes, but we got it done. And yeah, and then I just felt really bad because the adult actors had to drive home that night, and then I was like, but that, I mean, it worked out. I really loved the scene and all the shots that we got. It just took a long time. So yeah.
I mean, it's crucial to have that one person on the crew who will pull you through it. I can think back to it wasn't a feature film, but it was a 30-minute project that I put together right after, as I was finishing up college. And my DP at that time, who was also the DP on this, it was the first time that he and I worked together. And if it hadn't been for him, because we shot like 14, 15-hour days for a week straight. And there was a lot of fight scenes involved. And if it wasn't for him to kind of pull me through all that, you know, I would have been lost, because I was restless. I was kind of like, I don't know what's happening anymore, you know.
Right.
But he was one anchor to be like, we could do this. We're just gonna put the camera here. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna light it. You're gonna love it. And I'm like, sure, okay. And you know, you just gotta have that one, you know, that one person on the set to kind of anchor everything. So
yeah.
No fair.
I had a question for you, RJ.
Sure.
I know that you did say that you had to like raise money for the film, and I have no idea how to do that. I was just wondering if you had any tips on like funding. If you had any tips about funding or like what's worked for you, because
so you know, Linda and I talk about our real jobs, or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's saving money in that way, or for that 30-minute project that I did, we actually did what was it? It was not Kickstarter. It was Indiegogo. It was another site to kind of help fundraise projects, and that was one way to do it. We set a really high bar for ourselves, because we were like, this is going to be, you know, big or whatever. But people did contribute. We actually got a couple $1,000 out of that, and the only recommendation I have when doing that is make sure that you're able to deliver exactly what you're promising them. You know, your contributors, because there are a lot of instances where things can fall by the wayside. So make sure that you actually have exactly what you're promising to contributors. And so half of the budget for Table for Two was you know, saving up money, and then the other half, it's a little personal. There's Fernando in the film. There's something, you know, for Eileen at the beginning of the end credits. That was for my mother, and she had passed away during 2020. She was gracious enough to leave on so much for me, my sister, my brother, and part of that was, you know, inheritance. And you know, all of it obviously didn't go to this film, but she definitely kickstarted this project. She really wanted me to pursue this. She's always been very supportive. She had always been very supportive of my film endeavors, but you know, because I would get advice left and right. You should go here. You should do this. You should, and it was all good advice. It was all sound advice. But she was innocent enough to just be like, just do it. You know, just do it. And you know, through her sacrifice, you know, she made this happen. And she's able to make other projects happen. And, you know, every film I do from now on is going to be dedicated to her, whether it's a short film or a feature film. So, you know, don't wait around for that, Sabrina. Definitely try to kickstart route. Save money where you can. And you know, the idea is to when you're writing projects, to just write exactly what you want to see on screen, and then from there have your producers come in and help hone it down so that you can you know, it can fit within a proper budget. But you know, just save, kickstart, and hope for the best.
Thank you.
I don't know if Fernando can offer other insight into funding.
Oh, I'm about to go off. I'm about to go. All right. I'll go with the first one in my mind. RJ, you win this year on a totally peripheral front. I'll explain. Every year on my side of the fence, I see myself as a facilitator. You put in good work. I said, hey, that's good work. Here's a trophy, or here's a nomination. You're in. Boom. But then a human factor, intimate human equation comes in like yours. I've been the first year. They know who they are. Maybe I'll mention names, but he's now a good friend of mine, Stan Harrington. Very first year, he came out and he, like the Oscars at our award ceremony, we started with Best Supporting Actor in a Feature Film, and there's some trouble there, but he won the award. And he's at that time I wasn't hosting. I was in front of the camera. I was again kind of like Oz on the sidelines. He found me, pointing me out after he was carrying his trophy off, and he said, "Hey, Fernando, just want to let you know I came to America. I've been acting for over 25 years. I've won awards as filmmakers, as an acting ensemble. This is the first award I've ever won as an actor in 25 years. The reasons I came to this country. I'm worried about the food coming. I'm worried about ticket sales. There's somebody in the microphone working, and that and actually riding the coattails of your comment a little bit. There's a gentleman named Joey Pham. He's a screenwriter, and he's been with the film festival for quite a number of years now. And the past season where we were live again, he goes on stage and he wins another screenwriting award, and then he becomes a little more intimate and shares that his grandfather died right in the middle of this, and then he left him a bit of money. And I think I could be butchering this a little bit, but there's a similar conversation as to what to do with those funds. And I think his grandfather just like use it for whatever, your heart, so on and so forth. And he invested the time into writing his screenplays. So, and I'd known him for a few years already. I had no idea that's where the heart of all his screenplays. It was, from that intimate moment. So you share something like that, and I get that every single year. There's just something. Again, I just move one. I move this from this spot to this spot. You did a really good film. You got caught. We're gonna highlight you. So thank you for that. That makes what I do a thrill.
And thank you again. As I said at the beginning, I'm really happy to be here. Just being selected was enough for me to be like, that was my mom. Like she made that happen. And honestly, like if we don't get in anywhere else, same as Sabrina, like we're kind of waiting throughout the rest of the year to find out from other places. But if nothing else happens, like at least we got one in, and it's like that. I don't want to say it made it worth it, but like it validated the sacrifice.
Not breaking our arm, patting ourselves on the back, but since we're earlier in the year, I have heard back. Again, not my words, that there tends to be, and obviously not a guarantee for every film, even yours, both of yours, but there ends up being a minor, if not avalanche proper, after getting into Nova, because we've established a brand. And it's like all of a sudden, once the Nova, okay, they get the laurels for Nova. Again, maybe just timing, but it's I've received the opinion more than once where all of a sudden, bam, 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 everybody's like, okay, they got into Nova. So again, maybe chance, maybe we are accomplishing something good. Topic 2, Pandora's box, Sabrina. That is the number one question of all filmmakers. Where does this come from? And again, I really want to get, because you're local. Especially because you're local, because I've been very blessed and fortunate to make a connection with young filmmakers and be able to talk to them, but they're spread across the map. You guys are like 10 minutes down the street or whatever, but or so are you, RJ, right? Yeah. But you can come to
film, Sabrina.
Boom.
Don't do a feature. I can't do a feature. I got my own projects.
That is the number one hustle of independent filmmaking. Where do the funds come from? And it doesn't matter if it's $2,000 or $20 million or $200 million. It doesn't. The studio films. One of the most successful filmmakers, Kevin Smith, he mortgages his house on a regular basis. Let me look at the poster to get the name right. I forgot. It was it. Who was the one of you? Who is the filmmaker behind Apocalypse Now?
Francis Ford Coppola.
Yes. It was either him, I haven't told this story in a while, but someone of that caliber who had just completed a successful film, like Godfather caliber, commercially successful, artistically successful. To do their next project, they still had to mortgage their home to finance it on their own, just as an idea. Again, this goes into so many different corners. Studio films. That's why, and again, I might have mentioned it last night or one of the prior Q&As. People are very liberal with your money. Like, oh, well, don't do another reboot, or it's another rehash or sequel. They're doing another thing for Harry Potter. It's another book. It's like, Yes, because it's show business. There's a guaranteed marketplace for people are going to come in whatever demographic, the middle age female, the 40-year-old soccer mom. They read these books. They're going to come watch a cinema version of the book they've been following for years. Again, whatever demographic it is. So it's like, oh, why don't you make an original movie? And then it's like, well, there's no guarantee that movie is going to hit. And we're talking about millions and millions of dollars. So that's even if it's half a million. And again, you're going to hear a lot of things, Sabrina and RJ. You may have already it'll be a review, but um, this is Hollywood. It's harder to make a $2 million movie than a $10 million movie. If you go in with $10 million, oh, we're going to hire this actor, that actor. It's going to be on this set, and if the production value you presume is going to be at a certain level. 2 million, you might get a B, C list actor. It's going to be really hard to sell. But in other words, a $10 million film, as you can imagine, is easier to sell than a $2 million film. Again, we're in the most expensive art field in the world. You'll see the big 100 million, $200 million films, Kaplitzi. That'll sink a company. Companies go up and down all the time. So circling back to what your question, your comments, Serena, that is the number one question as a filmmaker. People at every level, when it comes to independent filmmaking, that's the hustle. There's the original, which I'm sure you've experienced, which are the 3 Fs: friends, family, and fools. Then there's just a lineage, graveyards full of people, filmmakers who put their credit cards on the line. And but this is where you have to remember, we talked last time, you have to get hard cold business. This is our demographic. This is who we're going to sell it to. I've already spoken with 1 or 2 sales agents. I have a distribution plan. I have a film festival plan. It's fine in the beginning because you're always learning, but spray and pray has to diminish quickly as you move forward. It can't be like there's got to be a strategy. I'm going to get into this festival because of everybody's unique. There's X, Y, Z reasons to get into this or that. Understanding again more we touched on it before, the cold business aspect of trying to get into Sundance. 85, 95% of that is already programmed. Yet they still get $15,000 or 15,000 submissions for like 10 to 12 slots. But understand but those laurels mean something more than NovaFest, believe it or not. So you're gonna get more traction, and then you'll have again Paramount, Fox, Searchlight going, oh, well, they got into that festival. But even then, and again, as we shared last night, there's another 2-4 steps to actually getting recognized. Many of the great film have died at Sundance at the same time because they didn't know how to market their film. They didn't know how to create a buzz. Again, I'm going off on a tangent here because I saw Katrina move for a moment. Like, as an actress, do you notice all of a sudden an actress is like, and for what I'm just thinking of actors too, they're like in every single film for the next 2 or 3 years. That's not an accident. That's I remember even when Brad Pitt first came out, like he's in like all these major films. Or I see a lot more young actresses right now, especially like the superhero Avengers movies, what have you. All of a sudden it's back to back to back to back. That wasn't spray and pray, that was all handled. It's a business. That was absolutely a strategic move. We're going to get you on this film because it's going to release right before that film, and the idea is it's going to be so successful that your name recognition, and then we get into the more insidious aspects as far as like what's your compensation, and because when you hit it big, there's a reason people are attracted to being big movie stars, because it is fame and it is fortune. Absolutely. I won't, like years back, I won't mention because a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, was looking to hire, I won't mention names, Denzel Washington, where like $500,000 a day for one, so, but you break it down, if they're there for a month to 3 months, that's, you see like Jay Lopez or whatever, J-Lo, it's like they get $20 million for one film. Understand, this is hardcore business ROI. You hire the 20 million, the 220 million, the Tom Cruise and the whomever, because it's going to make $200 million. That's a budget. That's where it's business. the DSLR, the red IMAX camera you buy, that's part of the budget. That's a widget on your sell sheet, just like the actors you put on there. So that's the coldness in the business, and too many times, again, part of what we do is to educate. Too many times the show business, the show is the sexy, that's the luring, that's the passion and the creativity. But the business is cold. You could be selling pancakes or tuna fish. It's still the same principles underlie, and that's the fun balance, because filmmaking has been called the balance between science and art, but also art and commerce. So yeah, I'm just, again, I tend to spew, but again, what gives me a thrill is to have everybody successful, and I just feel that the more quivers you have, you can either avoid or maneuver the waters better. And sometimes you got to take a hit. Don't get me wrong, but we've been talking a whole lot. We have some people in the crowd. If you, no, we're not going to call on you if your hand's not up, but if you're interested in asking some questions to our panelists, our awesome celebrities up here, either throw a note, or I believe you can click and drag yourself into one of the 3 boxes below mine, and you can ask a question just like you could in a real live situation. So I think I scared somebody off. So oh, they're back. So again, not going to force anybody. Dan, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, I'm not going to force you to come on like that. Hi, Dan. Dan is one of our documentary filmmakers. He was on with us the first evening on Monday. Since you volunteered and I put you up there, do you have any questions for these fine folks? I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I was interested, Linda, like Linda said earlier about she had her, I think it was a great way to put it, your survival job. Is that how you put it?
Yes.
Yeah. What is everyone else doing? Are you totally, I mean, I know a lot of new people, young, fresh faces in here, but I mean, I came from an IT world in the background, corporate world. And my wife and I both moved out of like high level positions to do something that we the passion. And so just wondering what everyone else is doing.
I'm in IT as well right now, making it work. It pays for the film.
Yeah, I'm in a software operations. Yeah, SaaS software.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually the term that. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say 9 to 5. What's your 9 to 5 is what people usually have to point it.
Well, right now it was kind of like I wasn't sure whether I was going to college or not, so I took a gap year, and then now I'm still in between right now, but like I'm really grateful to my parents because I get to actually just live at home with my mom, and my parents actually support what I do, but I also there's some things I have to help out with at home, like so like right now I'm kind of like in between just like living at home and thinking about what to do next. But yeah, I'm just like, I use this time to make a film. So yeah, right now I don't really know, but
I was about to mention make a film right now. That's awesome.
Even a short.
Yeah, even a short.
Katrina, what do you do?
I'm still in high school, so I mean, yeah, I'm a junior in high school.
Oh my God!
So
Wait, how old were you? How old were you when you did the film? Then were you?
It was the summer of 8th grade, so it was out of 8th grade into freshman year. Yeah. I don't have a job.
Telling you pretty soon, get a job.
Yeah.
And again, what I loved about oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you want to be an actress full time then?
I'm not sure. I definitely want to continue acting and like with Sabrina's films, and I want to help like produce and write some as well.
Well, there's a really cool high school here in North Carolina called UNCSA, for the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, and they have a senior year for acting, and you live on the campus. And one of our students, we used to host students from the school, and one of our students was Evan Todd, who went on to be on Broadway and went to Juilliard afterwards. So it's real possible. I mean, he's been in several movies. Yeah, you can check it out. IMDb, but Evan's really great. He's been on different ones, and so I mean, it can be done. I mean, it was funny because it's like a kid from a young age was like saying, "I want to be an actor and I want to do this," and he's made it all happen. So, where like I think when I got out of school, it's like, okay, computers pay well. I think that's what I'm going to go for college. Did the thing, and then afterwards, it's like, okay, I'm working 12 hours a day. I need to do something I want to do, and kind of so the faster you learn that, I think the more happy you're going to be. You may not be super rich, but the happier is going to be better.
Yeah, I fully believe that. I really want to like make sure that I'm happy in what I'm like making money for, because then it's not like a real like pain to go to work or something.
Well, check out the school, UNCSA. It's really, I mean, it's wild. We've gone down there, and the kids are just so talented, and the teachers are great. They have, whole school productions that are just amazing, and it's just super. It's a gem in our city. I mean, in Winston-Salem is a nice place to be, and that school makes it even so much better.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Nice plug, Dan. How much did they pay you?
Nothing. I mean, it is. I mean, it's I mean, we've seen people. It's funny. We've had students who were from China. We've had students who are all over. It's funny. One of the students from Hong Kong, when we went to a recital, he walked in and he's like, "Oh man, it's all Asian people again." And it was just so funny the way he said it, because he's like, "Oh, I want to meet some American people," But there were so many talented people who were going there for music, and just so dedicated. I mean, we had Ziha, who was with us from China, and he would sit and when he stayed with us over the Christmas break, he would spend 4, 5, 6 hours just practicing as a musician, and just totally dedicated to his art. So it's amazing when younger people just know what they're doing.
And this is for all of you, including you, Dan, because you're kind of a newbie too. This is your first venture, and I think I did mention this on your panel, is that everybody's going to have their own unique path. There's some general rules of the road, but like Sabrina and RJ, especially Sabrina right now, it's your tender moment in life right now. You can go anywhere. You have so many opportunities in terms of school, Katrina and GC, if you want to. This wasn't around when I was in my 20s by any stretch, where as close as George Mason, they've got a tenured film department. I've worked with them a bunch of times. I just did a career fair a week ago, I think. But I've had people who've graduated just from GMU. They're working at where's Tony now? I think he's doing Young Sheldon right now in LA. But between that and then the majors, you have the Chicago Institute, you have the Savannah, UCLA, USC. These are major schools. NYU. And one of my good friends just graduated from there. And as I mentioned, you could see he has a polished eye. He just knows camera movement and simple rack focus is to accentuate and possess the moment of the scene. But then again, to push the point that it's a unique journey on actor levels too. Kevin Smith, I mentioned him. He's a film school dropout. On the actor front, and when the internet first was being created, before GC and Katrina were born, I had a friend who even before AOL Messenger, there was a prehistoric messaging system when the internet was first developed, and he became friends with Johnny Depp's first wife. Okay, totally random. He did this all the time. You just meet people online, but with her specifically, it's like coming from them. So whatever's the real story, but just to illustrate the point, when he moved to LA, they moved to LA. They had no gumption of becoming an actor. She just had a couple of people. He was cute. They did some headshots, turned it in, and obviously the rest is history. But because I can tell you this, it takes more than talent. There's a lot of talented people out there, and I mean, I'm not saying anything new. I'm sure you've seen some really horrible actors in big movies, and you're like, what the heck? Had a good manager. They knew some people. It's really networking and collaboration, and it's better to be lucky than good a lot of times. That's why, again, as I think I mentioned last night, that's why you see people crying at the Oscars all the time, because they're not supposed to be there. It's so impossible to make it there, and yet they're there. That's it's an achievement. The current stories notwithstanding, but yeah. So the underlying theme is, if in this world, with whatever you do, if you knew what it was going to take to get where you're going to be as far as being successful, you may not choose it because it is that difficult. But now we get into existential thought and philosophy. But yeah, it's if you got the guts for it, it's rewarding every day. I mean, but you'll have to pay for it. You have to pay your dues, and there are absolutely zero guarantees. But you get to taste a flavor of life that most don't. And if that's enough for you, I'd like to get you still have a little bit of a capitalistic mindset, because $500,000 a day doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But that's the next level. Obviously, that's again pushing us a little bit. That's what Nova tries to do. We bring in the veterans and the new people. The new people being like yourselves, with you've got that glimmer of talent, some more so than others, but connecting those two. So I don't know about you all, but growing up as a kid, younger than you two here up on the screen in high school, there was a giant gap between watching a Star Wars caliber film and then going to high school, or you going to homeroom the next day or second period. How do you go from one to the other? It used to be very incestuous or nepotic. I'll make up a word, where you had a godparent or a uncle, sister, or something who was a DP on set or did wardrobe, and so that you'll see. Because when I lived in LA, I knew I made a ton of friends who were in the industry, but it's just because they went to high school with now celebrities, but they weren't celebrities then, but they have their their ins. But you guys are in an incredible, brave world, and even though you're a little bit older than them, RJ, there are so many pathways to success in the industry, where before it had to be one of the big blockbuster films is where you can have success. I mean, obviously, you guys know more than I'll ever know as far as influencers and YouTube, this or esports. People are celebrities in their own little world, and making a lot of money just being themselves. Just not dropping names, but we're not even friends or colleagues. I've spoken with him a few times, but Steven Yeun, from, if you remember him from The Walking Dead, Asian guy. He was on, I think, Conan one time, and he talked about this guy in Korea who had his YouTube channel, and there's a word for it now because this is a bit dated, but he had subscribers just watching him eat, and you're like, yeah. See, at the time it was kind of new. This is at least 5 years removed, but then they showed the clip, and gosh darn it, I was fascinated. He's just throwing down the noodles, and like, wow, I'm engaged, and he's making a living off of that. Drives me nuts because I also do Comic Cons. There's a sister event. It's been a while now, but the Nova Con. It's a straight up. It's at the Ritz Carlton in Tyson's too. Big huge deal. Had celebrities come out here and there, and but in due diligence, I went to other cons where you'd have the C3PO, Daniels and other celebrities from smaller CW shows to major blockbuster films. but then you'd have YouTube stars, and or cosplay players like. Who are you? They just go from con to con to con, and they make quite a bit of money just being Kardashians, I guess. But just because their own personality, and it attracts people for whatever reason. But in terms of business, I hate to tell you, RJ, but currently, unless it's changed over the last few months, there's absolutely no market for short films. That people will fight me on that. Because obviously, as you can imagine, and with NovaFest, we've had an incredible run of short films every single year. They're just magnificent. But in general, there's no market for it. There are a few places, and there's always in Hollywood. There's always an exception to the rule. But do you want to thrive on a regular basis? Or are you going to depend on those lottery tickets? That's a decision. But with again, technology makes things more accessible for everyone. Social media is a different slant on things, TikTok, whatever. So it's almost like overload for your opportunities. But again, it's the same fundamentals. Going back to what you said, Sabrina, raising money is the number one challenge. No matter if you've had a run of very successful Oscar caliber, if not Oscar winning films, it still can be for the independent world. it's a challenge for you, Dan, as well as the documentaries. Good luck. Those are on the mainstream. Those are hard sells, but people don't know that there's a market in for docs in libraries. Get to know somebody at PBS or Nat Geo. You have to know how to play the game.
Yep. And
You know, so-
congratulations, everyone, too, who's on here. So you made it pretty damn far.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome.
Have you been able to watch their films, Dan?
Oops, that was moving out. Sorry. I haven't been able to see many. We just started. We actually got accepted to another film festival last night. That's where we're at, and so that's kind of and we have a wine competition that we're running this weekend. So that's kind of our day job, which isn't a bad day job to have, is to run some working with wine and some vineyards.
You're drunk right now, aren't you, Dan?
No. I wish.
No. Okay. Me too.
Just having a little bit, but anyway, yeah. So things are going pretty good. I think we're gonna be able to leverage some of our stuff with the when we work with our vineyards and our ones with that grow muscadine grapes. That should be very helpful for us. They have thousands and thousands of followers, so they've been calling since we've heard about the different festivals, and so I think we're going to have our backing that we needed to have to go further. So
see how Dan should have introduced himself. Hi, I'm Dan. I have the documentary, awesome documentary, fantastic, probably the best documentary in Nova Fest, called Health Hope. Just again, you got to know the game. You got to know the game.
Yeah.
But again, we only have we can run over, but we only have a few minutes designated. So
I'll step back so somebody else can go in. I'm going to take it. Right.
Do as you please. There's so many aspects of the in every quadrant, whether you're an actor or DP, whether it's like Linda, if it's a passion thing, your 9 to 5, because you can delve deeper on all levels of where in all roles here, where if do you want to be a working actor, you're in commercials and doing things that aren't necessarily creative, or if you're an editor and you're just doing subclips for the Discovery Channel, or in this area, working for one of the military, because I've done similar work where I've done sound and cutting, editing for military. It kind of, it'll affect you this is where you have to make that kind of surreal call as an artist. Will this affect your perspective on how you go forward? If you're, that's why you'll see actors, I think I mentioned, like Steve Carell or other people, where they get pigeonholed into characters that they're really good at, but as an artist they want to explore. Again, I mentioned Steve, where like he might get him because he wants to do a darker film because he's used to the jolly, funny, imbecile or cool guy. Do you want to explore? But then at the same time, where there are plenty of actors, they know where they make their money. Liam Neeson, for the last 10 years, he'll only do action films. He's the old action guy. I think he's retiring from that now. I think I heard that recently, but it was, and understand there's the craft, there's artistry, and there's a business, but he, underground knowledge, don't hold me to it. His agent was only going to take scripts that paid the bills, or, because he's already far enough in his, and I could be totally making this up, but he's obviously far enough in his career. He's got the money. And there's really no judgment. If he just wants to take on the roles that's going to bring in the biggest paycheck, God bless him, more power to you. Or you can, again, there's so many quadrants. You take, and again, I use this example earlier. You're a Jonah Hill, you're a little savvy. You took the pay cut. You took the minimum SAG rate for is it Wolves of Wall Street, but you're directed by this mega star. It's a mega big hit. Guess what? On your next project, you're going to do less work, but you're going to get paid 10 times more. So that's kind of the game. And I'll even wrap with the story I usually bring in there, where I hear so many starving filmmakers like, oh, well, we're going to be the next Paranormal Activity, or we're going to be the next Blair Witch, that, because they cost like $10,000-$20,000 to make, and they made millions and millions of dollars. Actually, our third or fourth year, we had Eduardo Sanchez, because he's from the DMV. He's the filmmaker behind the Blair Witch Project. Gosh, and I'm thinking that movie's older than the three of the people on this panel. Oh, you guys heard me. But the point is, I'll put it out there. This is one of my little shticks. Let me put it out there to all of you, including the people in the audience, if you'd like to participate. That movie, as of 10 years ago or so, made up to $300 million. $300 million. Paranormal Activity #1, $300 million. how much of that $300 million, and it's probably added another 50 since then, but at round number 300, how much of that revenue, profit even, uh, went back to the producers of the original film, the people who put it together, shot it, everything. Out of $300 million, just go around the board, at least on the panel, how much do you think went to the actual producers? Well, that'd be kind of mean if it was zero or even negative. Out of $300 million, they maybe, I'll be generous, and my kung fu may be a little old as far as information, but I think they maybe made $50,000, give or take, out of $900 million. Well, that doesn't sound fair. It could be up to 300,000. I'll give it a ceiling of that. But again, out of $30 million, how is that fair, you ask? Well, they made the film for, and producers do this all the time. James Cameron says he makes a $200 million Titanic film. It's probably half that. They probably, we'll just throw a number. They put in 25, maybe $30,000 into the film. Okay, got it. Final cut, martini shot, in the can. Paramount put in anywhere from different numbers, anywhere from $9 to $30 million into marketing it. The producers get all the accolades. You made this great horror film. It's different for whatever reason, and within now you're celebrity stars within the production world. You get all of that fame. Paramount puts in millions of dollars. So fame comes in, they get the fame. Dollars come in, guess who gets the dollars. But here's the hook. And again, you were saying, well, let's get an even number. Say they made $30,000 off the film that made 900 or what, 300 million. That's not even, you got to spread that out to all the different producers, 5 different producers. But here's the thing, they own the rights to the brand. They already gave up the licensing rights to Paranormal 1, but Paranormal 2, they own the rights. They make a crappier version, and it only makes $2 million. But guess who gets to keep all the $2 million? So that's just a picture. That's just one example into the Hollywood system. And I could be full of BS, but if anything, it's a platform for understanding the potential dynamics of how Hollywood works. And we talked about the actor side of it. You just never know. You never know. But if you got the passion, and the hook is getting the savvy, and that's again what hopefully Nova brings to the table. If shamelessly, if you come to the film market, but I open my Rolodex for anybody who wants to get a hold of them, because with your next project, especially if they need to be, if you want to make money, RJ and Sabrina, they need to be features. And I said this again last night, Sabrina, before you hit that first key on your laptop computer, already have a plan, if not a relationship with your sales agent, and understanding the distribution. Because even again, before you write those first 3 words, or even those first keystrokes, know that you're going to be in this particular demographic, this geography. It's going to be released. If it's a Christmas film, obviously you want it at a certain time. If it's a summer kids film, if it's a big blockbuster, you don't want to compete. This is where it starts contradicting. You don't want to compete against the Avengers, but you mentally are, meaning you don't want to release it in April and May. You don't, or do you want to capture the Thanksgiving crowd? Because right now, just again, know the game, know your industry, learn your craft. Between Thanksgiving and January 3rd, theaters are booked. January 3rd to, it used to be April, but Marvel keeps creeping up into April, my territory. But definitely January through March, dead. That's why the big blockbuster, the tentpole movies come out in April, usually May, but now they've crept into April, and they're booked all summer through, again, till at least after 4th of July. So again, the business is not rocket surgery, okay, but it is very, very deep and high. There's just a lot of information. But if you enjoy that, if you get a thrill from that, like, how cool is that, right? So I wish all of you the best. Thank you so much for being on the panel here. I'll give it a more. I think we did already, but really quick, if anybody has a shout out for the next project, this is the time. Promote, market yourself. Does anybody? I think we covered it, but please, is there anything else you'd like to mention? Linda, you mentioned some stuff coming up. Do you want to promote any of your future work, or I don't want to put you on the spot if everything. No one's hiring right now.
Yeah, no, I've done a couple independent projects. I don't know that I'm allowed. Am I supposed to say anything before they? Probably
Absolutely,
not.
absolutely, absolutely. You're promoting yourself. We're all about supporting all the artists here.
Okay. Yeah, I did an independent film a few months ago, Dark Waters. We did shot that in DC, and then potentially, I can be selective, so that's nice, because I'm doing this later in life. So there's a couple projects I'm looking at potentially doing, but yeah, I mean, it's the activities are actually ramping up now, so it's exciting. There's a lot more opportunities than there were, say, 6 months ago. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. Oh, I think I lost sound.
Oh, I did. Sorry. Yes, if there's anybody else, but yes, Linda, again, harsh reality of the business. It's not the PCest thing to say, as far as like, you think they are the most free and love it, but yeah, it's one of the most un-PC businesses in the world. Name four or five, even three actresses over 40 that are, there's Meryl Streep. Okay. Next. Right. But it's I don't want to get all philosophical here, but it's a mirror. That's what people are gonna, it's bottom line. That's what they're gonna spend money on the theater. So the business responds. You can be artistic and rose-colored glasses as you want, and God bless you if you want to put out this passion project that's wonderful as sin, but don't expect it to make money if you don't know the game. Coldly. But anybody else want to say anything before we part ways? No? Okay, we're good. Again, thank you very much. We don't have to part ways, as Sabrina knows all too well. There is, if you look on the left column underneath, there are 2 breakout rooms. Actually, I'd like everybody to come out there because I want to take a selfie there. We can take virtual selfies. I think it's in, which room was it, Sabrina? Was it 1 or 2? Do you remember?
The second one was
The
prettier.
loungy lounge. Yeah, the pretty one. The pretty
There you
one. But yeah, jump over to Fame Forum 2, check it out, and I'll give you a quick tour. Just like the real world, if we were at the Mosaic, we jump to a restaurant, everybody, this is where we all go, and we all hang out, we network. You can have private conversations, you can have conversations with everybody. You can take selfies, it's all kinds of fun. So if everybody, if you look, jump on over to Fame Forum Breakout 2. Just click on that and hopefully you jump over. I'll see you there.